Hi everyone, welcome back to Beyond Classroom. In today's lesson, we are going to focus on something that many students underestimate: language variety. Using a range of grammar and vocabulary in line graph descriptions can lift your score from Band 6 to Band 8 and beyond. In IELTS Writing Task 1, the band descriptors assess not only accuracy but also grammatical range and lexical resource. I have already made 6 videos covering different aspects of line graphs, and you can find the links in the description below. I'm sure those lessons will also be helpful as you build your skills step by step. Today, I'll show you how to vary your grammar and vocabulary naturally when describing a line graph without making your writing complicated. We'll work through a complete line graph description together, and I'll highlight the specific grammar structures and vocabulary choices that create variety. Let's get started. Here is the line graph we'll be working with today. The graph shows the number of active daily Facebook users in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand between 2007 and 2014. Before we analyze grammar and vocabulary, take a moment to observe the main trends. This is crucial. It gives the examiner a clear summary of the main patterns before you describe the specific data. Looking at the graph, we can see 3 very different patterns. Vietnam experiences a steady increase over the whole period. Thailand, by contrast, displays a clear downward trend. Cambodia, on the other hand, shows noticeable fluctuations throughout the period. Now, we are not going to analyze every number in detail at this stage. Instead, what I'm going to do next is to show you a complete model description of this graph. Then, we'll break it down and identify how grammar and vocabulary variety are used to avoid repetition. So first, let's look at the full description. Here is a complete model description of the graph. Take a moment to read it carefully. Don't focus on individual grammar points yet. Instead, notice the overall flow. It covers the key features, organizes the information clearly, and uses a good range of grammar and vocabulary. Let's begin with the introduction. You can see that it paraphrases the question effectively. The overview summarizes the 3 main trends. User numbers in Vietnam increased, the figure in Thailand declined, and Cambodia experienced fluctuations. This addresses the task achievement criterion, summarizing the main trends without including specific data. And this is exactly what examiners look for in a strong overview. Then, each body paragraph concentrates on one country, presenting the key information in a logical sequence. The first paragraph describes Vietnam's steady growth using a mix of structures. Next, Thailand is presented by contrast, which creates a smooth contrast with Vietnam. Again, we see variety in grammar and vocabulary. Finally, Cambodia is introduced with, on the other hand, highlighting its contrasting pattern. At first glance, this may look like a typical Task 1 response. But what makes it stronger is the variety in both sentence structures and vocabulary. Now, we will look more closely at 2 key areas. First, grammar variety, how different sentence structures are used. And second, vocabulary variety, how synonyms and precise word choices avoid repetition. So, let's begin with grammar. Now let's focus on grammar variety. A strong Task 1 response does not rely on a single sentence pattern. Instead, it alternates between different structures. First, notice the verb plus adverb combinations highlighted in green. Rose steadily, climbed sharply, rising gradually, fell dramatically, grew noticeably, dropped moderately, and peaked. These structures make the description more dynamic and precise. Second, look at the noun phrase structures in turquoise. article plus adjective plus noun combinations. For example, a continuous decline, noticeable fluctuations, steady growth, a consistent downward trend, a gradual decrease, a fluctuating pattern, and an overall increase. We also see the structures starting with there was, which is another way to introduce these noun phrases. These forms sound more academic and allow for greater flexibility in sentence openings. Third, observe the subject plus reporting verb plus noun phrase structures. Instead of always starting with the figure or the numbers, the description begins with the country name as the subject and uses reporting verbs such as experienced, displayed, and saw. For example, Thailand experienced a continuous decline. Thailand saw a consistent downward trend. And Cambodia displayed a fluctuating pattern. This variation improves coherence and reduces repetition. The key idea is balance. By alternating between these patterns, the writing demonstrates control and grammatical range, exactly what the examiner looks for under this criterion. Now, let's move on to vocabulary variety and see how precise word choices help avoid repeating the same words. A high-scoring response doesn't just repeat the same words. Instead, it uses synonyms and precise language to describe trends. Let's see how this description does that. In Task 1, repeating the same verb, such as increase, multiple times can limit your lexical resource score. Instead, this description uses a range of expressions to describe upward movement. For example, we see rose steadily, steady growth, climbed sharply, rising gradually, grew noticeably, peaked at, and an overall increase. These all describe increases, but in slightly different ways. Even comparative language like higher figure, lowest number, and highest figure adds to the vocabulary range, showing variety when presenting data. When describing downward movement, the text uses experienced a continuous decline, a consistent downward trend, a gradual decrease, fell dramatically, and dropped moderately. Again, the meaning is similar, but the wording changes. The word stabilized is used to show when the trend levels off. For fluctuations, phrases such as noticeable fluctuations, displayed a fluctuating pattern, and further variations help avoid repeating the same noun. Notice also the words in green. Overall, initially, by contrast, and on the other hand. These are cohesive devices that help structure the response and guide the reader smoothly from one idea to the next. The key point is precision. We are not using synonyms randomly. Each word matches the pattern shown in the graph: sharp increases, moderate drops, and noticeable fluctuations. This is what examiners refer to as a range of vocabulary used appropriately. Vocabulary variety is not about using complicated words. It is about choosing accurate words and avoiding repetition. So now we have seen how both grammar variety and vocabulary variety strengthen our response. Next, let's look at how a few small refinements can push this response even further to a Band 9 level. Now let's look at a Band 9 version of the same description. Notice that the data hasn't changed, the structure hasn't changed, the organization remains exactly the same. What has changed is precision and refinement. For example, in the introduction, measured in millions is added to make the unit of measurement explicit. Instead of saying experienced a continuous decline, I have used underwent a sustained decline. The meaning is similar, but the tone is slightly more academic. Fluctuations become marked volatility, which sounds more precise and controlled. Instead of repeating simple trend language, we see phrases like persistent downward trajectory and the greatest degree of fluctuation. We also see more subtle cohesion. Instead of repeating, by contrast, we use whereas in the overview, conversely to introduce Thailand's trend, and meanwhile to transition to Cambodia. You can also notice the other simple changes which are in bold letters on the screen. These are not complicated words, they're simply more precise and varied. This is the key difference at Band 9. It's not about complexity, it's about control, accuracy, and natural variation. You should first aim for clarity and structure, which gives you Band 7 or 8. Then, small refinements like these can elevate your writing further. Let's summarize what we have learned today. First, structure comes before sophistication. A clear introduction, a focused overview, and logically organized body paragraphs are essential. Second, use sentence construction variety. Alternate between verb plus adverb combinations, noun phrase structures, and reporting verb constructions such as saw a decline or displayed a fluctuating pattern. This demonstrates grammatical range. Third, use vocabulary precisely. Choose accurate synonyms, match your words to the trend shown in the graph, and avoid repeating the same vocabulary within a paragraph. And finally, aim for control, not complexity. High scores are achieved through clarity, accuracy, and balanced variety. Complexity without control does not increase your band score. If you consistently apply these principles, your Task 1 writing will become more flexible, more natural, and more aligned with the band descriptors. If you found this lesson useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more IELTS support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.